You're so sweet. You're a sweetie pie. Um, so yes, my name is Nakia, and I've been doing these daily lives. And I've been just focused on women empowerment, um, self growth, and just having honest conversations that we don't usually have. And I currently create like digital products just around helping women reset, reflect, and reconnect with themselves. Anything to push them forward. Okay, so let me put my first poll. I like putting these polls. So great, guys, because it literally helps. It helps me get a feel for like the room and like where people are at, and we all can look at the data together, so we know we're not alone. Okay, so let me put it here. How you felt used by people? Just creating the next poll. Okay. Okay, so let me put it sometimes. Okay, so I'm putting out the poll here. And this one is just asking, have you ever been used? Okay, so let me make it smaller because I learned yesterday that you can make these polls smaller so you can see my face. All right. So I want to do this topic because I've learned so much just learn to be selfish. Um and I believe like it can be very hard to be selfish. And if you're watching, definitely hey, how are you? Definitely feel free to say hi in the comments. And I want to talk about it because I think as women we're such nurturers, and I hear this even in like women I know, even in relationships. Like it's not only single people. Like I always hear of women always giving themselves to the core. Um, hey Mala, thank you. Welcome. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Feel free to post where you're from. Like, no need to just watch. You can like speak away in the comments. But yeah, and especially in relationships, like I know a woman personally where they've told me like, oh, every time like I have to be the one that does everything or reminds people to do things and handle the household. Um, and though I'm not in a relationship, for me it was from a different perspective. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's just braids. I appreciate the kind comment. And I basically grew up in a household where like just from, being in my teens, like I'm sure I told you guys like I didn't really grow up in a healthy household. So it meant that my needs weren't always met. As a teenager, and then growing into adult. Um And I remember when I had to make a decision to leave the household because it was so toxic. And I was always trying to prove myself, like when it came to my mom. And I think it lasted all the way up until like 2019 when I had enough. But I remember like when my mom had like told me, hey, I had enough of you. Like, I don't want you to be here anymore type thing. You need to go. And I felt so abandoned, right? And I remember there was a point where I was still talking to her, like it's so toxic. And she was acting all sad about it. You know what I hate is when like people like do actions and it's not only her. I've actually seen friends do this. You guys can tell me if you relate to this, where it's like they're the ones that does the weird action and then they act as a victim. Put victim in the chat if you had that happen. And they'll be the one feeling all sad and you're like, dude, you're the one. It's like you're the one that started this. Like it wasn't me. Like I would still be here with you if you didn't do this. Like I remember I had a guy do that. Um I remember I had a oh thank you. I'm glad you like it. I remember I had a guy do that where I don't know, I guess he wanted to be friends in I guess in his eyes, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And then when I agreed with it, he was so like, all of a sudden he was like, oh, I'm not going to work. I'm so downtrodden. And I'm like, dude, you made your own decision. Like, why are people weird like this, acting like victims? Okay. Anyways, and then I remember, so then eventually my mom tried to ask me to move in, but they wanted to give me like all the separate, like basically the leftovers. And then I said no, I stood my ground. And I remember when the first time, like when I like moved out on my own, I remember thinking, wow, like I remember thinking like, wow, like I've never experienced this where there was so much peace. Like I didn't realize till I was out of it that um I didn't have any peace. Like I didn't realize how much of myself I was giving myself, how much emotions I was putting myself through. Hey everyone, if you're watching, feel free to say hey, and let me know where you're from. So we're just talking about how the real reason why I became selfish. And it was at that moment, I think it was the start of my journey of choosing myself for the first time, where I was like, I'm not gonna go back to the known. And sometimes I believe when we're so used to giving, when we're so used to giving ourselves and managing everything, um, we can end up getting stuck in the familiar because that's what we're used to. Until you get out of it, you don't know. And I feel like as I grew over the years, I ended up sick back in like 2019, and I was so sick actually, and then that's when my mom showed up in the hospital. They all do, right? I guess their moms, or that they'll show up when it's the worst moment. And then I ended up asking her for a favor to help me, right? Because I didn't work in a while, whatever. And I felt like she was trying to like. It was a weird thing. She was trying. I don't want to say like blackmail me. It was just weird. And she gave this weird proposal, basically for me to lie. And I was like, I'm not willing to do that. And I feel like that was the first time where I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna like put up with that. I'm gonna choose myself for once and not put myself through that. Because why would I do that? So distancing myself from family members was the first time I. It was the first time I would say it was one of the pivotal moments in me choosing myself, because once I chose myself, it's like I felt better, things got better. Like, you know, sometimes like family's not always good if it's giving you a headache, to be honest. And the version of me that would do things that was not selfish was I always settled for less, and this was in friendships as well. It was like I would settle for less. I would accept anything that I came across. Like even when there was an intuition that told me, "Oh, like this thing doesn't feel right," I would still continue with it because, like, I loved being that supportive person to that person. I loved being there for that person. In general, like I love, like when it comes to my friends, I love being super loyal. Right? Like if a friend asked me to do something for them to help them, I would do it. Um, I would sometimes speak to people who weren't supportive, or I would trust people who I shouldn't trust, right? Like, put two in the chat if you trusted people who you shouldn't have trusted, right? Because that sucks. I remember speaking to someone, and I feel like I was so gullible back then because I would just tell my dreams, like for example, or share like something I was doing. And then I remember that person said something, and she's like, "Well, like I don't think it's that good." Like, and this was actually around videos at the time because, if you don't know, I've like tried multiple times on YouTube channels, and at the time, she was like, "Oh, I don't think it's that good." Da da da. And then right away, got discouraged. And I remember thinking, like, okay, how could someone just like spit on your dreams like that? Like, it's crazy to me. Um, and I think one of my pivotal moments around like made me realize like something needed to change is I remember in one of my darkest moments, and I think I've shared with you guys, when I was like behind on rent, like I was in a really dark place, like I was crying at night, stuff like that. I remember like there was no one there. Like there was no one there to support me. And I felt like no one really remembered me. Like no one was checking up on me. Like I was in that type of space. And I remember I had to look and I remember I had and then I remember I had one person or this was a time where my car was out, okay, like it was not working. And the person kept saying, "Oh, um, like hopefully you get your car like back up, blah blah blah." And I remember turning around, I'm like, but like, and then ended up getting a conversation about this, and I was like, "Yeah, but why are you asking about my car and like just telling me all this stuff when you have two cars and you basically help me?" Because this was someone very close. And then right away, I noticed he started backing off, and I was like, "This is very interesting." Because when I have good moments, that's when everyone's there. But when you have like really bad moments, people don't want to be there, right? And that's when I think my eyes started to open and see like, okay, so like people are very selective of how they want to be in your life and how they want to be supportive. And if it's a convenience to them, they want no part of it. And I don't find those type of friendships beneficial. And now that I'm more aware, you know what? Sometimes there's some friends that you need to keep as acquaintances. There's just some friends you need to keep as acquaintances because there's some people that you need to keep at arm's length because they're not benefiting your life in a good way, a good, healthy way. It's like if they're not benefiting your life, if you feel like if it was 2 in the morning and they wouldn't pick up or they wouldn't call you back, like that's not a friend that you should have. By the way, I this stats is very interesting. So wow, some people have never got used before. Interesting. Someone said sometimes and yes, that's very interesting stats. Um, so I want to share one of my like four main points. Sometimes be overgiving can be a curse, right? Because sometimes you don't know where to stop. You don't know when to stop. Sometimes because if that's all you've done, that's my first point when it comes to this. If that's all you've done, like sometimes you don't know when to stop. Like I used to always have so when I was like growing my business and people are very curious, like I've had people come up to me in church asking about my business and they wouldn't talk to me otherwise. And I would always share freely. But once I started to get more aware, that's when I used to kind of like stop. I was share with you guys, of course. But once I became aware, I started to kind of, I would say I would start to build a wall. Like I started to create some boundaries where if they would ask me about business, I'd be very short because I would be like, would you talk to me otherwise? Like, I think sometimes people forget that you're people too. Like just because you have a question about something, you have a question about something, um, like it doesn't mean that you deserve to get it answered. Like, let's be clear. If you have something right now that's beneficial to other people, whether you have a job or you're good at something, you are not required to answer to them. Hey, pumpkins, how are you, girl? Yeah, you are, and yes, this exactly. You're not required to answer them. You're not required to help them. I don't care if it's something that could benefit them. Like, if you like, you are not a punching bag or someone that you should be used. I'm doing good actually. I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling really good today. Um, Thanks for asking. Tell them to book a still at my place. Right? I know. Tell them to book a sales call. Hey there, how are you? It's okay. Oh, hey Keisha. It's good to see you here. Yes, exactly. No, now it's a little bit better. Like I'm pretty much online here. Like I've kept things. I've learned how do I say this? I've learned to have key people in my life that I could tell it to, and then I try not to broadcast like what I'm doing. Um, how do I say it? Like, it's not that I'm not broadcasting it, but you learn over time. You learn who to tell. Where they'll kind of you learn who to tell who you know wouldn't be using you for information or just someone that's supportive, like someone who's basically your cheerleader. And it's like that's the next thing is like find your cheerleader friend. Find a friend that like loves being around you when you're at your lowest point and loves being around you when you win. You know how hard it is to have a friend that's around you when you're winning. Like it's easy to have friends that is at your low point, but trust me, find a friend that loves like celebrates you when you're at your high point. And they're not expecting anything from you. They just like being around you because they love you. Um, and I believe too, like the overgiver curse. Like speaking of that point was, it was a lot of not like like not being self aware of certain things, especially when it came to not being selfish. Like I just remember, like I don't know if any of you guys are like this, but I just remember like when I would date, and it's like when I would really like a guy, and it's like you'd be like not money, but you'd be like giving a world. Like when I would date, I would be giving a world. Like I remember, okay, I should tell you guys this story. So I remember I was just dating this guy, not really dating, but getting to know him. And every time I was so dumb. Like I would drive to his house and pick him up, okay? And then I remember I would bring him back to my place. We'd hang out, whatever. And then I noticed that every time he would like get food or something, he wouldn't buy me anything. And used to be like, what the hell's wrong with you? And then he'd be like, oh, I just bought. But I'm like, why wouldn't you ask me? Like, if, hey, Nikia, like, do you want anything as well? Like, he would just buy himself his own thing. And then I'm silly me, would then bring him back home. Like, that was crazy. And I think back then I wasn't self aware, but then when I started to really pay attention, I was like, this guy's selfish. And then once I was self aware, then I can make the changes. But I think naturally I am a very like overgiving person. It's a curse. It's good, but it could like in the wrong hands, it could benefit people. Um, and then usually I find with overgiving curse is like you have no boundaries. Like you're letting everyone to and fro walk over you. Like what made you come to that point? What made you come to that point? The point when you said, would you talk to me if you didn't have this question about my business? Because you know what? There were some people, so so in my church, yes, you know everyone, right? But there's some people like you just don't talk to. Like you know them, you'll say hi from afar. And then there's the people at church where you go up to them, say hi. Because obviously there's like hundreds of people. You don't have time to talk to everyone. So there'd be like key people where you would talk to them and catch up a little bit, 5, 10 minutes, like, and you would chat and sometimes you would even text them, stuff like that. But then there were some people where you would hardly talk to, like, yes, you know about them, but then they'll just come to you and say, hey, like, I just want to know a little about your business, like how it works. Like they weren't asking for pure sauce, but it was just like I don't know, I find it weird. Like I would never just go up to someone random. Like it depends on the setting too. Like we're in church. It's not like we're in a business networking event and then someone's asking like it's like you're in church. Like it's like when someone's coming up to me, right? I would be expecting them to want to get to know me. That's such a great question though. Like they want to get to know me or just say, hey, how are you doing? Like, how am I doing? Like there's no motive behind it. And I think that's what kind of like I want to say like made my antennas go up because I'm like you didn't even say hi to me because you want to just say hi or you know what I mean? Um and then I would help them out of my good heart. It would take some time, but then I got to realize like when I was talking for 20 minutes, and there was sometimes like when I would go to church, I don't want to talk about business. Like I have days where I was like I just want to like be myself. Like I just want to just have regular conversations. I feel like there's a time and a place, and the thing about it is I don't want to say it's like all church people because not all church. It's regular people too. Is those people they're not buying, girl. So like I probably wouldn't have offered a sales call because I'd be wasting my time. Most of the time, people who support you are usually people like you don't know, like like me, like probably you guys would more likely support me than people that I see every day. That's just how it is. Because people, it's unfortunate, but like I don't know if you've heard this saying before, where like people say a lot of times, like you'll see Jesus went through it, right? He couldn't do miracles in his hometown. Like people see you from like when you're like young and like transforming, little Nikia, and they see you all the way to like once you grow up. So like they can't get that out of their mind. So they don't see you as someone that, like, an authority figure or whatever. I don't like saying authority figure, but um, it's just a little different. They don't see you in the same light. Um, but yeah, so that's what made me come to that point. I was just reading your comment again to make sure I answered it. That's just what made me, and I just kind of got to realize I was like, huh, like people seem to come up to me because they want something. It's not because they just want to hang out with me and all that stuff. Um, but maybe it could be, and it's something a little better around it, and it could have been too. Like I was going through things as well, and there had to be a lot of healing. But um, I don't know. I just wouldn't do it to someone. Like I would rather do it somewhere else where I ask for. Like I've done that at church where there's a guy that did really well on Instagram, and what I would do is I actually paid him. I paid him for a 1-on-1, and like I let him help him, and I like buy his stuff, even though he went to my church and is very successful. But I didn't just talk to him. Like I made sure to make the right settings. Um, so I want to say this. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to be selfish. Okay, I call it like it is. Perseverance. What is it called? Preservation. Like you are trying to protect yourself. You're trying to um I'm gonna say self-preservation. Like that's what you're trying to do. Is you're trying to protect yourself, and you're trying to make sure that you keep going as long as possible without people sucking your energy. Um and when I say this, it's like you're protecting yourself from people who call you with a different mood. Like any of you guys have been in a good mood on the phone? Like let's say on in the day you're having a really good mood, and then randomly like a friend will call you in this like bad mood, and then they start just yapping, calling you, and then it's like blah blah blah. They're like barfing all over you, and you have to be like, hold up. Like I'm in a good mood. Now there's nothing wrong with supporting your friend, but I've had it where it was just like it's like you're just calling me, I haven't heard from you, and then you're just calling me to like barf all your problems. And obviously you're not ready for it. And what I used to do is I used to get so annoyed, but I would stay on the call and try to help them. And then when I noticed those feelings where I was like, I'm not liking this because I'm in a good sunny mood, and this person's barfing all their barf, like they're like vomiting everything to me. And I used to feel such a tightness in my chest. And I don't remember where I heard it from, but I think I was listening to a podcast, and the person said that um like I can't remember, but I was paraphrasing, but I got this from someone where they were saying like usually if like the conversation is not going a certain way, or like it's like they're trying to create a boundary basically. Remember, so usually you don't have boundaries, right? Like when you're basically over giving. And they said they'll usually try to just cut off the phone call. And so my issue was I always had a hard time cutting off the phone call. So then one time one of my friends called me, and right away I haven't heard from them. Right away they were just pouring out like everything that happened to them. I think they got into the accident, but they're fine. Like I made sure they were fine, healthy. And as soon as I saw this, I think within 3 minutes of the call, I was like, "Hey, I have to like." I think I said, "Oh, I have to call some." No, I said, "Oh, I have to get off. I'll call you back." Click. And I think they were dumbfounded by that because they were like, What happened?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing, nothing. I just had to get off." And I was like, "Oh my god, I almost got sucked in to someone like just vomiting all their emotions to me and then changing my mood, especially at nighttime." And I think that was my pivotal moment. This was actually like maybe, guys, I'm still working through this, but this was actually like probably maybe a few months ago where I started doing that. And I was like, wow, I felt so good doing it because I was like, it just showed me like, I don't always like if that person's not going to respect your space, like you don't have to give them that respect in that sense. Like you're allowed to block them and block, you're allowed to have your own bound. You're basically allowed to do what's necessary. Like if you don't have words, you're free to hang up the phone. Just hang it up. because usually they'll be all shocked and like, oh, what happened? Da, da, da. Because like you can then like you basically break up that pattern, especially if you have issues like I've had this even happen before where I met this person in a networking event. I've actually done it. No, I didn't do it, but I thought it. Good afternoon, Turkish. And I'm curious, any of you guys have went through that, where you had to like end a call or something like that, where someone was just vomiting all their issues on you. I'm very curious. And so I've had this another moment, but I didn't do that. But I remember I had it in my head where I was like, next time I have to do it. And basically, this person from a networking event ambushed me with another person on the phone on the Zoom. And I remember thinking, this is not what I thought it was. Like, and I was like, oh my God, this is so misleading. And I thought every time I looked at that Zoom button, I was like, I should just end meeting. But I wanted to be respectful. See how it works? And, but I just stayed on. And then, oh, like as soon as I can, I then thanked them. I waited for the end of the presentation and I got off. And I remember thinking, I should have just ended the call, right? And pretended like something happened to my internet or something. But it's like, it's such a hard thing. It's like boundaries for me, like especially like that, because it's like behind your mind you're like, oh, like I want to make sure they like me, like it's still that like there's like a little bit of people pleasing, right? You're like, oh, I still want to make sure they like me, like I want to make sure they're okay, oh, I want to make sure that everything is all good. But like the reality of it is like they don't care about how you're doing, right? They're just caring about themselves. Like they just want to get out what they want to get out, they just want to get what they want out of it. um and that's something that I had to learn, right? It's like people are in the center of their lives. They are the apple in their own eyes. And I'm not saying it's all people, I'm not saying all people are bad, but most of the time people are going to look out for themselves. And if you don't look out for themselves, like people if you don't look out for yourself, people are going to take as much as they can take. And that's when I've learned that like you have to learn to be selfish. And I think one of my journey was it got easier once I started to embrace singlehood. It's like once I started to embrace singlehood as well, I find that it played a big part in me creating a lot of boundaries. Um, because now it's like you're reconnecting with yourself and you start to see what you like and what you don't like. You don't have outside distractions. Like your emotions are not getting involved. Once your emotions get involved, it gets very hard. It's kind of like you grow balls. Okay. You start being okay with a lot of times you start being okay with being in your own space. You start being okay with telling people no, oh, I don't want to go here, I can't go. Like the people pleasing goes down because you start to recognize your space. Your space gets so peaceful where you're like, oh, I like it like this. So then once you know what you like and what it feels like, it gets easier to protect that space. It gets easier to you're putting a barrier around that space. Um you get to see how rewarding it is. Like you understand the rewards. So that's just something that was my journey of learning to be selfish, and then it's just a little bit of like how I did it. Um and for me, how yeah, like that was pretty much it. It was like it's like how I did it was like I said, it was self. Where's my notes here? It was a self awareness. It was a lot of personal development as well, like personal development, like reading a lot of books. Um, like what's his name, Miles Monroe. Um, the Purpose Vision, like that book really helped me a lot. Um, and then there was a book from Joyce Meyer that I had recommend, and I think it was a book about purpose. Give me a second here. Let me try to find it, like what it was. Okay. Okay. Um. But yeah. So I'm gonna stop looking at these notes. But yeah. So basically, like how I got to that point. Yeah, it was reading a lot of books. So it was a book. I'll post it, but basically it was a book about just like really learning about yourself and getting closer to God, and like just hearing Joyce Meyer's story of like how she grew and how she came from abusive background, and basically came from a background of abuse, people pleasing, and just learning to basically listen to herself and listen to what God wanted to do in her life. And it was amazing to see like how she grew. Um and another thing was, so I know I talk a lot about reconnecting, but just learning to be in my solitude, like the more I connected myself, the more it got easier to set boundaries. So like the how I became selfish is also was a lot of self-awareness, like I talked about. Like I think self-awareness is a big thing, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of it. I think sometimes we get our emotions caught up that we don't notice. Um, so I think it was like the more I got self aware about certain things, I start to analyze situations that didn't feel normal. The easier it was for me to dissect it and catch it, and then come up with a solution. I once saw this woman called Cody Sanchez, and she's a really like popular business owner. And what she did is she actually created a list of things she doesn't like doing, like her nose. So like some of her list was, oh, she doesn't go to kids parties, like that type of thing. She won't just like meet someone just without an agenda, like. And I remember hearing that and I was like, that's so smart. So like, a lot of people have lists of things that they want to do. It's like you have a list of like what you don't want to do. And I think reading that, it kind of made me be like, oh, this is my list. Like my list is like, I don't like giving right to people like unannounced. Like I rather it be planned so I'm prepared. Like I don't want to talk on the phone if I don't have to. Like I don't want to have to listen to someone's junk if I don't have to. Um, I don't have to say yes to something if someone needs help, especially if I hardly know them and I know they're just asking for that. And so I create it's like a list of no's. So I encourage you to do that. Like create a list of no's. Okay? And become selfish. Put yourself first. Like no one's going to do it until you do it. Put yourself first, and don't put yourself on a back burner for other people. It just can't be like you can't put yourself on a back burner. Um, and yeah, so it's just some of the things I've done, and like obviously going through therapy because it makes you really aware. Um, because what I struggle with too is like when you create the boundaries, then you feel bad about it, you feel guilty about it, and then you want to go back on it. Um, Curious to know if you have a no that do you have any of you guys have like an absolute boundary that you don't do where you're like I'm not doing that. Um, but I had to go through therapy too to walk sometimes situations through to make sure that I made like sometimes I'll second guess like what I my decisions are, and I had to walk through that to make sure and say okay, this was the right decision. So I think it's just a journey of like learning to be selfish and putting yourself first and learning to say no. I think that's the most powerful thing they teach you. They teach you that in business as well. It's to say no, because when you start saying yes, it takes away from your time. Every time you say yes to someone, it means that there's less time for you. Um Now nothing's wrong with saying yes, but it's like you want to say yes to the right things that feels you that you enjoy, that you generally want to do. Like don't say yes to things that you don't want to do. Right? And that's why, I created that Build Where We Are, that whole thing. Like it's a workshop. This is like a clarity call because I want to help people like who are in those situations where they're like, oh, like they're overthinking, or they're like, oh, like should I do this or should I not? Or people have told me this. I have many boundaries. I had a friend from my past come back in my life recently. Sorry. When you're like, I heard off the phone. Yes. I heard off the phone the other day. He seems to be very toxic. Yeah, you see, you just know you have to listen to yourself. And I think it's like for us, it's very hard because we love, man, it's let's be honest, it's so nice to help people. Like it is a nice feeling to help people. Like, when you're depressed, like if you talk to a professional, the first thing they'll tell you is, oh, like volunteer and go and help someone, give back because you feel better. They all tell you that. Like they all tell you that, right? Because I understand why. But like it's like we have to be careful because people that just want to come in, girl. And he said, and he uses people. I see. I bet you when you hurried up and hung up, he must have been like, what just happened? I'm laughing because I obviously told you stories of me like where I had to like learn to hang up the phone because these people, yeah, but I hate helping people that always need help. But he wants to dump off on people. Yeah, exactly. And if you're not self aware about it, you will stay on the phone. And that's why I talk about it because I don't think it's talked about a lot. Like, I had to learn this. Like, this is what I want. It's like, I want to have more discussion like this because I wish I had discussions like this so I would be more aware way sooner. Like, I had to learn this on my own, right? Like, and I'm sure you had to figure it out. Yeah, I could hear the surprise in his voice when I got off the phone. It's like, why are you surprised, dude? Why? Um, yeah, and it's like you have to be self aware because if you're not, you'll get sucked in, and then man. But you know what? The good thing is that when you set those boundaries and you say no, like they won't do it again. Most of the time, they'll be like, "Oh, like Keisha's not the one to play with because she ain't staying on the phone, right? She ain't staying on the phone." Um, but yeah, so yeah. Anyways, that's why I built that bill where we are. Whoever's watching this and recording, because I want people to have clarity and not be overgivers, like not have that curse of overgiving because it's not good, right? And learn to be selfish, like put you first. Do the stuff that you want to do. He isn't aware that he is that way. Oh, that's a whole different perspective, right? It's like how do you know that you're not? You know what? And I don't know if I mentioned yesterday is that when I was very insecure in myself and didn't feel like I fit in, especially when I was younger, I used to always talk to people in church, like more so elders, like people who you can trust. But it came to a point where I was like, you can't tell your business to people because people, um, I just realized over time it could be, but it took some self awareness. Like, yes, you can tell your issues, but you know what? It just comes a time where you have to learn to take care of it yourself. Like, you have to learn to figure out, okay, how am I going to get over these issues? Because all of us have issues, and they're always going to pop up. They don't stop. Yeah, he isn't aware that he's that way, and yes, and people pleasing will cripple you. It is, and it comes in different ways. Like people, I don't think people realize like people always think it's just like me like trying to please someone or like you're just trying to say yes, but sometimes it's in different ways. It's like when that friend calls you and they're talking on the phone with you and you don't want to talk to them and you talk to them anyways and then but there's something inside you that's burning and you're like I don't want to talk to them right now. Like I can't tell you the amount of times where people call and I'm like, I don't want to talk to them. But then once I became self-aware of it, of that feeling, then sometimes I just don't pick up the phone. Right? But it's so real. It's very real. Um yeah, exactly. Hey Crystal, how are you? I think you popped on, you're already on before. Um yeah, exactly. Yeah, had that feeling before. Exactly. I think we've all had it. And I don't know, like people pleasing just creeps up, and it's like if you don't deal with it, it starts coming out in different ways. Like it comes out in work, like it comes out work, it comes out everything that you do. I'm doing good. Like me and Keisha are just talking about having friends who call you to dump all their vomit, and then you try to run off the phone. That's how I started to become selfish. And she was telling her story. And I was like, so true. Like, and then we're talking about how like people pleasing just creeps up, basically in different areas. Like, it's not just one thing that people think. It's usually just little things, like little things, and then you have to be really self aware of it to catch it and then you're like, okay, I'm going to change it. Are you poor, Vantika? That's the question that you need to answer. Yeah, it's always the small things, and then it just builds up to the point when you're like, oh, like everyone's taking from me, and yeah, it's like everyone's taking from me, and no one is pretty much giving back. And it's like the goal is you want to find friends who are willing to give back, like not just take, but actually give back. It's reciprocal, like friendships that are completely reciprocal. So that way you are able to become selfish because you have even you so you can even give yourself room to be selfish, right? Because they're being reciprocal. And anyways, why are people weird? Yeah, well, they're giving. It's just that what they have to give has no value and causes you to give all yourself, like give everything that you have. So you are right, they are giving, but it's just not the right thing. But you don't want that. It's like not every gift that, it's like not every gift that you get is always good, right? It always goes back to that. You want the good gifts, not the ones that sucks you dry. But you are they are giving what they can give, I guess. But uh, I know, but it's true. They're giving what they can, but anyways, yeah, that's a whole different story. I know it sounds, yeah, it's just I know it sounds wrong, but yeah, I think I've gotten really good at being selfish, to be honest. I've gotten really good at it. But I would say like I'm now at a solid 7.5 out of 10. Like compared to like years ago, I think I've gotten better because I'm more self aware. Um, I'm learning to be selfish, and like when those times happen and pops up, I don't feel as guilty. Or depending what it is, like how close the people are, but I don't feel as guilty saying no. But the one thing I'm working on is when people ask me for a ride. So now, like, what I do is I will sometimes like even recite the answer. So if I know I'm not comfortable with it and I know I'm gonna be around people, I will recite the answer I would ideally want to give them, and I keep on reciting and reciting it. So it gets easy if I'm in that scenario, and I find that helps a lot. Yeah, in the friendship realm, I'm learning to be selfish. Yeah, but also it's also keeping yourself busy. You know what? I have a friend where I think she really does a great job at putting herself first and like just embracing singlehood. Like she's dating a bit, but she's really embracing singlehood. And what she does is she keeps herself busy. Like I think that's the easiest way to be selfish is keeping yourself busy. Meaning like she does these dance classes. Yes, she works. Oh, so I will recite. So like for example, like the boundary I'm trying to set right now is like saying no when people ask me to give a ride because sometimes I just want to be in my car and just like um recruit myself from being around people. And so I would usually just practice saying, "Hey, no, I can't do it." And I try to refrain from saying sorry in my vocabulary when I'm responding to people. So I just kind of recite it in like I'll recite it out loud at home, and I'll say it a few times, especially if I know I'm going to outing or I know someone that may ask me or something, and I'll be like, "Hey, no, I can't," or "Hey, no, not today." So stuff like that. So like yeah, you see, you can't say sorry because then it opens up doors for them to ask like another time because it's like you're leaving your door open. I actually learned this from somewhere. I can't remember where I learned it. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh, so I'm not gonna say sorry. Um, so yeah, so whatever you're apologizing for that you're trying to create a boundary around, you try to say it, recite it at home, right? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Do it for 1 minute. And you just keep on reciting it until you feel like comfortable. before you see that person or be ready for that person or whatever. And I find that helps so much to just practice it. Um, but I know we all do it. Like in Canada here, I don't. Where are you located, Keisha? So in Canada here, like we're known to say sorry. Like when we bunks into someone, we say sorry, sorry. Like all we do is say sorry here. Oh, that's fun. I want to go to Alabama. So we say sorry a lot. Here in Toronto. Um, which is fine, but it's like context. But yeah. It's not the end of the world saying sorry, but I just try to take it out of my vocabulary for like certain things. So the person knows that I'm stern. Like, it's like end of story. So yeah. But this was a nice topic. It's so hard to sometimes not to apologize. Yeah, Crystal, I know. I know. We're natural women are naturally like we're so empathetic. We have so much emotional intelligence. I was just talking to a girl yesterday and she's married and she didn't say anything bad about her husband. But she did admit and she's like, yeah, men don't usually have emotional intelligence, da da da. And I'm like, yeah, like we are just awesome because we have all the emotional intelligence that they need. Like they need all our grace and compassion, right? So like we've learned it probably from different stages in our lives, um, depending on how you're brought up. Right? We've learned it from different stages. Southern hospitality used to be big here, but it's fading along with our rights and freedom. Really? Why is it fading? Is it more because of cost of living? Um, okay, what is going on in Alabama with the rights and freedom? Are you talking about politics? Like I know, okay, so I know over here, like what we always talk about is people don't really have like get-togethers anymore because a lot of people in Toronto, like, because it's expensive, like a lot of people don't live on their own. They either live with roommates or I'm not saying no one lives on their own, but like people just don't do that anymore. Like, really, like invite people over to their home. It's very rare. Um, that's very unfortunate because people are becoming more selfish and not in a good way. Yeah. Self-preservation is for their own whatever their ego, their gain. I get it. And yeah, you know what? I always hear people in the South are very like giving and like, and I always hear that like, oh, they're very full of hospitality. Um, it's unfortunate. But yeah, over here it's very rare. Like sometimes I'll get invited by some friends' houses, but it's not all the time. And not that I'm expecting that. But it's very exciting when I do because I'm like, oh, I like this. Like, I would love to do like more get-togethers and stuff too. But also like sometimes like I find like it's like people work more too. So it's not as popular as it was years ago. Like or even house parties. We are talking about it and we're like, oh, we don't have any house parties, you know? But yeah. Yeah, they don't have get to it's not like before. And like I said, and maybe it has something to do with being selfish and boundaries. Who knows? I think it can be so many different things. But the selfish we're talking about is not to let people walk over you. Um, but yes, people have their own reasonings. Yeah, people are more busy. I actually agree with that because I was just talking to a friend. Where she was telling me, oh, like, because we went somewhere and then she was like, oh, I'm working, but I'm also doing Uber Eats and like, so like, people are definitely hustling because they want to like save and save. I think this is a good time to be saving. Huh? The vote is very interesting. 64%. I want to speak to those people who said no, where they've never felt used by someone. I want to know this. I want to know these people. Who are, if you're here right now, please tell me what's that like. And then someone says sometimes, yeah. Like if I were to vote for this, I would probably be I've felt used for sure. But if you're no, like that's awesome. Like people voted that. I didn't expect there would be a lot of no's. Yes, me too. I really enjoyed it. It was a great conversation. I will definitely be seeing you guys tomorrow. And feel free to always go back to my page. If you ever want to build where we are clarity call, I'm always down. Let's do this. And you guys have an awesome day.